4.3 Quadratic functions and their properties. So quadratic function is f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, right? It could be plus or minus. Using the vertex, axis of symmetry, and intercepts to graph of quadratic function. So just a little bit of a review. We see a quadratic, it's a u. So if it's the lowest point, it's called a minimum. And if it's the highest point, it's called the maximum. And we know that by if it opens up or down. So if it opens up, it's going to be ax squared. If it opens down, it'd be negative ax squared. So example 1, let's locate the vertex and axis of symmetry of the parabola. F of x equals negative 3x squared plus 6x plus 1, and does it open up or down? So let's answer that first. Since it's negative 3x squared, it opens down. Let's go ahead and find the vertex, which is a formula, negative b over 2a. That's kind of a review, the vertex formula. It's something you've learned or supposed to know. If you don't remember that or don't know, let me know, and I have videos to supplement that. So we have a, b, and c. So we have negative b, so negative 6 over 2 times a, which is negative 3. So negative 6 over negative 6, and we get 1. So let's plug it back in. We have negative 3 times 1 squared plus 6 times 1 plus 1, and we get 4. Use your calculator. We get 1, 4. That's the vertex. So then the axis of symmetry is x equals 1. Let's go ahead and graph this quadratic and answer some stuff about it. So does the graph open up or down? It opens up because it's positive x squared. Let's go ahead and find the vertex. So we have x equals negative b, so that's a and b. So negative 10 over 2 times 1, so negative 10 over 2, we get negative 5. Now we're going to plug it in. So we have y equals negative 5 squared plus 10 times negative 5. So that's 25 minus 50, which is negative 25. So the vertex is negative 5, negative 25. Alright, so the axis of symmetry, that's part C. So what is the equation of the axis of symmetry? It's x equals negative 5. Part D wants us to find the x-intercepts. So to find the x-intercepts, we make y equals 0. So we have 0 equals x squared plus 10x. Since this is a binomial, we can only take a GCF, so they both have x in common. We factored it. Now let's set each factor equals 0. So we have 0 equals x and 0 equals x plus 10, which is negative 10. So we have two x-intercepts at 0, 0 and negative 10, 0. The y-intercept, it is x equals 0, but there's an easier way for quadratics. So we have y equals x squared plus 10x. So you see how there's no c here? There's nothing. It's 0. So the y-intercept is 0, 0. Also, if we have an x-intercept of 0, 0, your y-intercept is 0, 0. Alright, part F, let's go ahead and graph it. So let's plot the vertex for it, negative 5, negative 25. Now, let's just say this is negative 25. Then we have our axis of symmetry, which goes straight down the vertex with a dotted line. We plot our intercepts at 0, 0 and negative 10, 0, and that's all we need. We have 3 dots. We connect the points, and it's a parabola. The axis of symmetry, the reason why it's important, see how this point from the axis is 5 units away? Well, this point from the axis is also 5 units away. So points are equidistant from the axis of symmetry. Let's determine the domain and range. So this is a quadratic, so the domain is all real numbers. And the range is smallest y and up, so since it's double arrow up, our range is going to be 25 to infinity, because it's going up. Alright, increasing, decreasing, so it's increasing, so increasing is right here. These are intervals, x intervals, so increasing, decreasing, those are x intervals. So at this x, at negative 5 to infinity x's, it's increasing. It's decreasing right here. So it's decreasing from negative infinity to negative 5. It's always going to be the x of the vertex. Find a quadratic function given its vertex and a point. So if you have a vertex and a point, we can use f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k, and we can use it to find the quadratic. So there's two steps. Find the vertex, plug it in, plug in the point, find a, then you're going to plug in a in the vertex to simplify. So our first step is to identify the vertex, point, and find a. So the vertex is 1, negative 5. So h is 1, k is negative 5. The point, which is x and y, so it has a y-intercept of negative 3, so that's 0, negative 3. So the point for that, x is 0, y is negative 3. So let's plug it into our equation, our formula. So our formula is f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So f of x is just y. We have negative 3 equals a times x, which is 0, minus h, which is 1, squared plus k, so minus 5. Let's solve for a. We have negative 3 equals a times 1 minus 5. Negative 1 squared is 1. So negative 3 equals a times 1 is a minus 5. Add 5 over, and we get 2 equals a. So we found a. Now our second step is to use h, k, and a. So h is 1, k is negative 5, a is 2. Now we're going to plug it into the same formula. So we have f of x equals a, which is 2 times x minus h, so 1 squared minus 5. Now we have to simplify, meaning multiply. So we have 2 times x minus 1, minus 5. Let's FOIL. So we have 2 times x squared minus 2x plus 1, all minus 8. Let's distribute. So 2x squared minus 4x plus 2 minus 8. Why did I say 8? It's 5. I don't know why I said 8. It's minus 5, minus 5, minus 5. There we go. Combine like terms, we get f of x equals 2x squared minus 4x. So 2 minus 5, we get minus 3. Example 4, find the minimum or maximum of the given quadratic. So minimum and maximum, that stands for vertex. So since that stands for vertex, because those words mean biggest or smallest of a quadratic, we're going to find the vertex. So since it opens up, it has a minimum. So for the vertex, we have x equals negative b, which is negative 4 over 2 times a, which is 1, so 4 over 2 is 2. We're going to plug it in, so y equals 2 squared minus 4 times 2 minus 5, and we get negative 9. So since this is asking in a weird way, we say the minimum value is 2 and occurs at negative 9. That's how it's going to be on my math lab. Alright, example 5, we get to practice this again. So determine the quadratic function whose vertex is negative 2, negative 16, and whose y or x-intercept is 2. So x-intercept, that's 2, 0. So our first step is to plug it into our formula, and find h, k, x, and y. So h is negative 2, k is negative 16, x is 2, y is 0. So we have 0 equals a times 2 minus negative 2 squared minus 16. I'm just plugging it into the formula. So we have 0 equals a, so 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 squared is 16, minus 16. Distribute, so we have 16a minus 16, add 16. So we have 16 equals 16a, so a is 1. Now our second step is to plug h, k, and a. When a is 1, it doesn't matter. When it's -1, it does, but when a is 1, you can forget about it. So we have f of x equals 1, which I don't care about, so x minus -2 squared minus 16, so we have x plus 2 minus 16. So FOIL, we have x squared plus 4x plus 4 minus 16. So that's f of x equals x squared plus 4x minus 12. There is a video on Canvas with how to do a lot of the things we did today using a calculator. This is one thing I highly suggest you just practice with. You have to, that's a standard, you have to use your calculator, practice with it. But for this video, I'm going to show you how to do it all by hand. So a water balloon is launched, blah blah blah. It tells us h is the height of the projectile, and x is the horizontal distance. So find the maximum height. So maximum height, that means vertex. So if we're talking about vertex, that's x and y. But in this case, we're using x and h. So if it wants to find the maximum height, we're looking for h of the vertex. So we have x equals -b, which is 1, over 2 times a. A is -32 over 100 squared. You are going to need a calculator for this. So we can do this piece by piece. So we have -1 over 2 times -32 over 100,000, or excuse me, 10,000. And we can simplify this. So we can simplify the fraction inside. So we simplify the -32 and 10,000 to 625, or -2 over 625. I just divided by 16. I kept dividing by 2 until I got to it. Now we can multiply straight across. So we have -1 over -4 over 625. We keep change flip. So we have -1 divided by -4 over 625. So -1 times 625 over -4, and that is 625 over 4. So that's the x of the vertex. Now we need to plug it in to find the y. So we have y equals -2 times 625 over 4 squared over 625 plus x, which is 625 over 4 plus 100. Now, I just plugged this into my calculator, but I'll do it piece by piece. So we have -2. 625 over 4 squared is 24,414.0625. That's over 625. Plus, so I'm going to add these together, and when we do, we get 256.25. Multiply straight across. So I have -2 times 24,000, that decimal, so that's -48,828.125 over 625 plus 256.25. Divide the fraction, so that's -78.125 plus 256.25, and we get y equals 178.125. And I can turn that into a fraction by hitting math, enter, enter, and I get 1425 over 8 feet. So the maximum height is 178.125, or 1425 over 8 feet. So B is asking how far from the base of the stadium will the water balloon hit the ground? So we're looking for when will it hit the ground. That's X. Ground, floor, surface, y is 0, or h is 0, same thing. So we have 0 equals, now the -2 over 625, or where I'm getting that from is right here. Because that's where we got it from, right? And that's where we got it from, and that's what this is. So that's where I'm getting it from. So we have 0 equals -2x squared over 625 plus x plus 100. Now we need to use the quadratic formula. because we can't factor this. You need to use the quadratic formula. So we have x equals negative b, which is 1, plus or minus b squared. So 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is the fraction, times c, which is 100, all over 2 times the fraction. Alright, so I'm going to simplify the inside using my calculator. Now, you know how to add things. If you didn't, we wouldn't be in college algebra. I'm going to add that using my calculator. So we have x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 2.28 over, now I simplify this with my calculator and we get negative 0.0064. So we have x equals, we have two equations now, negative 1 plus the square root of 2.28 over negative 0.0064, and then we have x equals negative 1 minus the square root of 2.28 over negative 0.0064. Use your calculator. You know how to simplify this. You can use your calculator, and we get x is approximately negative 79.68233610, and then we get x is approximately 392.182323610. Distance is always positive, so that is not an answer. So we can say the water balloon, so the balloon will strike the ground after traveling 392.18 feet. If you want more detailed on step-by-step using your calculator, I do have it on the completed notes. But since this is a video and you are expected to know how to add and subtract using your calculator, I'm not going to explicitly show you. There is, however, a calculator video on how to do quadratic formula with your calculator, how to do vertex with your calculator, and it focuses on 4.3 and 4.4. So after you finish 4.4, you'll see that video on Canvas. I highly suggest you go over it if you have a TI-83 or 84.